What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hashing Out the Draft, presented by Inside the Hashes, your home for all of the insight into your favorite 2021 NFL Draft prospects. I'm your host, Ben Schwartz, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at Florida quarterback Kyle Trask, North Carolina running back Michael Carter, Georgia edge rusher Azeez Oghilari, Alabama cornerback Patrick Surtain, and North Carolina linebacker Chaz Surratt. Before we get going today, feel free to like and comment on this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of Inside the Hash's great NFL draft content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Hashing Out the Draft. So, without further ado, let's hash it out. Kyle Trask, a 6'5", 240-pound senior, is in his second year as the Florida Gators starting quarterback. In both high school and college, Trask has had an incredible amount of experience serving as the backup. At Manvel High School in Manvel, Texas, the former three-star recruit was the backup to current University of Miami quarterback D'Eriq King. Then, when he arrived in Gainesville, Trask had to sit behind now University of Arkansas quarterback Felipe Franks. 4 games into his junior year at the University of Florida, Trask got his chance to be in the spotlight when Franks decided to redshirt and transfer to Arkansas. Now, this season, Trask's second as the starter, the senior quarterback has put together a masterful campaign, solidifying himself as one of the favorites to hoist the Heisman at the end of the college football season. All Trask has done is complete 70.2% of his passes for 3,717 yards, 40 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions in 10 games. Trask has been one of, if not the best statistical quarterback in the nation this year. Among all quarterbacks, the Florida senior ranks first in yards, first in touchdowns, 9th in completion percentage, 9th in average yards per attempt, and 4th in QBR. One of Trask's greatest strengths is his size. In fact, Trask is the same height and only 1 pound lighter than Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Big Ben Roethlisberger, who is notorious for being one of the toughest quarterbacks for defensive players to bring down in the backfield. This allows him to have an easier time reading coverage because of his ability to see over the top of defenses, and plays right into his over-the-top throwing motion, which has proven to be accurate and efficient. However, just like Roethlisberger, Trask does have mobility issues, which can mean a few things from a quarterback's standpoint. Trask is not going to be the guy that is able to improvise and extend plays when the pocket collapses, or be able to pick up first downs with his legs when there is no one open downfield. To counteract this issue at the next level, the Florida quarterback's pocket presence must be on point to evade edge rushers shedding blocks, and he has to be able to get the ball out of his hands and into those of his receivers quickly, both of which he has shown he is capable of doing at the college level. Another one of Trask's strengths is his ability to throw the deep ball with great precision. Many times throughout his senior season, Trask has connected with playmakers such as projected first-round pick tight end Kyle Pitts and day 2 wide receiver Kadarius Toney on these deep passes, demonstrating great touch and awareness of his receiver's route as he delivers the ball just outside of the defensive back's reach. A great example of this can be seen here in Florida's matchup with Texas A&M this season. Trask takes a 3-step drop and confidently puts the ball right in Toney's hands for a touchdown. Here's another one of these deep balls, this time on a play action against Missouri. Trask is able to quickly get rid of the ball and floats it into Pitts for a big gain. 2 of the biggest knocks on Trask are his decision-making ability and inexperience, which were highlighted in the Gators' previous game, where they were surprisingly upset by a struggling LSU team missing its top 3 defensive backs, which includes All-American corner Derek Stingley Jr. On a 3rd and 6 early in the second quarter, Trask makes a poor read and gets fooled by freshman cornerback Eli Ricks and ends up throwing a pick 6. Ricks makes it look like he was playing man-to-man defense and baited Trask into throwing the ball in a place where Ricks could jump the route and bring it all the way for a score. Then, with 18 seconds left in the second quarter and the Gators down by 4 at their own 42-yard line, Trask drops back with a quickly collapsing pocket. When the pass rushers reach Trask, instead of securing the ball and taking the sack, Trask tries to fling it out, resulting in a strip sack, giving LSU the opportunity to extend their lead before halftime. While the Gators' playoff hopes may be dashed with their loss to LSU, having the opportunity to play spoiler for Alabama and earn the title of SEC champion is plenty of pressure. To add on to this, Trask will be attempting to accomplish this feat while going up against one of, if not the best defense in college football, one that features multiple projected first and second round picks at all three levels of the defense. The showdown on Saturday will be a great test of Trask's accuracy and his ability to make quick and smart decisions, as Nick Saban will surely scheme up a lot of pressure for the senior quarterback. There have been a lot of negative comments circulating around the internet recently that are directed towards Kyle Trask, and I'm not really so sure why. I mean, sure, the guy might not be the most polished quarterback prospect, and he does have studs like Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney to throw the ball to, but somebody still has to be that distributor, and that's something Trask has done so well all year. I mean, just take a look at his touchdown to interception ratio. He's got 40 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Those are numbers that any quarterback would dream of. For the ones that are saying Trask is overrated, I think they might be a little bit out of line. Right now, I have Trask circled in as the number 6 quarterback taken off the board this year, right behind Alabama's Mac Jones. And I think he'll slide into that draft spot really nicely. Trask might have to spend the first couple seasons in the NFL as a backup so he can learn from NFL coaches and other NFL quarterbacks before he's ready to take the field as a starter. But I think Trask is going to have a pretty successful NFL career as he's a big guy and he's able to throw accurate passes. Next up, let's take a look at North Carolina running back Michael Carter. Michael Carter, a 5'8", 199-pound senior, is in his 4th season as a member of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels backfield. For the last 2 years, Carter has shared the backfield with junior running back Javonte Williams, and this season, they have created the most dangerous running back tandem in the entire country. Although Williams may be considered the feature back, Carter has still been able to put together an incredible season that is on par, and in some statistical categories, better than what Williams has produced. Through 11 games, the senior running back has rushed for 1,245 yards and 9 touchdowns on 156 carries, good for an absurd 8 yards per carry, which ranks second among all players with 100 or more carries this season. Carter has also hauled in 25 catches for 267 yards and 2 touchdowns, proving his viability as a receiving option out of the backfield. Among all running backs across the nation, Carter ranks 17th in carries, 3rd in yards, and 22nd in touchdowns. Michael Carter's greatest strengths are his elusiveness and speed. Countless times throughout his senior season, Carter has made opposing defenders look silly as he is able to break them down with quick jukes, stutter steps, and spin moves that allow Carter to break tackles and create space for large gains. This elusiveness is also beneficial for the smaller running back when running in between the tackles. Utilizing his great patience, Carter is able to wait for holes to open up in the trenches, pick the right one, and then make quick cuts to burst through the line and set up big runs into the second level of the defense. The speed of Carter is another aspect of his game that will translate well to the next level. It is always beneficial for a running back to be fast, but especially for smaller running backs like Carter. This speed allows Carter to bump runs to the outside and secure the edge before the linebackers can get there. The North Carolina running back's speed is also a great contributor to his success as a receiving option out of the backfield. Carter is able to break screen passes for long gains and get open on medium to long-range routes when he is lined up against a much slower linebacker. North Carolina's previous game, a marquee matchup with the University of Miami, was an incredible showcase of the senior running back's skills. In this game, Carter rushed for an otherworldly 308 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 24 attempts. At 12.8 yards per carry, this was Carter's most efficient game of the season, and is even more impressive when taken into account that he received his highest number of carries all season. Let's take a look at a few plays from this game that should definitely have scouts excited about Carter's potential to be successful in the NFL. On his very first carry of the day, Carter takes an inside handoff and uses his speed to burst through the tackles after his offensive line sets up a nice hole for him to run through. Then, after moving to the outside, Carter lays down a powerful stiff arm that allows him to extend the run and pick up a first down. This is a great sign from the smaller Carter, as he shows he is still able to use power along with his quickness to break tackles and get extra yards. Later in the first quarter, Carter shows off his receiving chops on this 1st and 10 in Miami territory. On this play, Carter runs a Texas route into the middle of the field. The first positive sign from this play happens before he even catches the ball. As you can see, once he breaks his route towards the middle of the field, Carter uses his intelligence as a receiver to slip behind the linebacker playing zone and make himself open for the quarterback. Then, as he secures the pass, Carter is able to hold on and maintain possession when receiving a big hit from a Miami linebacker and picking up the first down. Later, at the end of the first quarter, Carter's speed was on full display as he takes an inside handoff, finds and bursts through a hole, makes one cut to the outside, and races down the sideline and into the end zone for a 65-yard touchdown. For his second touchdown of the day, a 25-yard run midway through the second quarter, Carter's patience pays off as he is able to squeeze through a hole in the inside of the trenches and use a burst of speed to get to the second level. Once there, Carter breaks not one, but two Miami safeties' ankles with devastating jukes, freeing up a path for him to leisurely jog into the end zone. Throughout the rest of the game, Carter continued to use his skill set to propel himself to the performance of a lifetime. As a smaller running back, Carter is not going to be the guy that is able to run over defenders and be a power back like his running mate Javonte Williams. However, this does allow the senior running back to hide behind the offensive line, leaving linebackers and safeties to guess about what hole the running back is trying to go through. After watching Michael Carter this season, it is hard not to be reminded of another explosive running back, Jamal Charles. Carter and Charles are similar in their physical build. While Charles is 3 inches taller than the UNC running back, the two are the same weight, coming right under 200 pounds. Carter and Charles exhibit similar agility and footwork that allow them to break big runs. Charles was incredibly effective during his prime in the NFL, so it is not surprising to see that Michael Carter has raised his draft stock this season and is now projected as a middle-round pick. If you didn't know the name Michael Carter before this weekend, I'm sure you do now. After his incredible performance against Miami, where he averaged almost 13 yards per carry and ran for a total of 308 yards, Carter has to be getting more attention from NFL draft scouts and other draft experts. Carter is undersized, and that does raise some questions about his pass blocking ability. But the senior running back has showed he can be an incredibly effective runner, something that will hopefully translate over to the NFL. Carter might start his career as a change of pace back or maybe a passing down back, but if he can prove to be pretty durable and keep up that effective running style, I can see Carter becoming a lead back in no time. Next up, let's take a look at Georgia edge rusher Azeez Oghilari. Azeez Oghilari, a 6'3", 240-pound redshirt sophomore, is in his second year playing for the Georgia Bulldogs defense. The former four-star prospect out of Marietta High School in Marietta, Georgia, is listed as a linebacker, but his role would be better defined as an edge rusher, as he predominantly lines up on the line of scrimmage instead of behind the defensive line. Ojulari's journey to the NFL draft has certainly been an interesting one. During his senior year at Marietta High School, Ojulari suffered an ACL injury. Then, when he arrived at the University of Georgia, Ojulari was still recovering from this injury and was an undersized linebacker at just 220 pounds. However, with the help of the Bulldogs staff, Ojulari was able to recover and has since added 20 pounds to get up to the 240-pound mark, making him a more suitable fit into the role of an edge rusher. This season, Ojulari has racked up 27 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 passes defended through 9 games, and has become an elite defensive weapon for the top 10 ranked Bulldogs. One of Ojulari's greatest strengths is his explosiveness off of the line of scrimmage. As an edge rusher who typically works out of a 3-point stance, this trait is incredibly valuable, and one that successful NFL pass rushers such as Denver's Von Miller and Pittsburgh's TJ Watt use to their advantage. With this explosiveness, Ojulari is able to use quick moves to get around offensive tackles, and once he is past the offensive line, his quickness and agility allow him to quickly cut into the pocket and reach the quarterback before he has a chance to escape or throw the pass. This explosiveness is also effective when defending against the run. Ojulari is able to make quick adjustments at the line of scrimmage and shed blocks to fill gaps and not allow running backs to break through to the second level of the defense. Another one of Ojulari's strengths is his height. Standing at 6'3" inches, Ojulari's height and length allow him to knock down passes at the line of scrimmage when his rushes are not successful. This physical attribute is also beneficial in the run game, as Ojulari is able to see over the top of the offensive line and get a better read on where the running back is going. In addition, when defending against the run, Ojulari's tackle radius is larger than many other defensive linemen, thanks to his incredible length. One final strength of Ojulari is his balance and hand placement. These two attributes are key elements for edge rushers when attempting to shed and disengage from blocks and stay upright when he has to transfer between moves or switch which side of the lineman he is looking to attack. Let's take a look at a few plays from Georgia's game against Auburn this season that should have NFL draft experts predicting Ojulari's name coming off the board on the first night of the NFL draft. On a 1st and 10 late in the second quarter, Ojulari proves how effective he can be against the run. On this play, lined up on the left side of the defensive line in an upright position, Ojulari makes quick work of the right guard trying to block him by using his hands to push off. The running back's quick jab step is no use against the Georgia edge rusher, as Ojulari is able to maintain his balance and swallow up the running back behind the line of scrimmage. On another running play, this time on a 2nd and 8 early in the third quarter, Ojulari is once again lined up on the left side of the defensive line. After being stuck in a block, Ojulari is able to recognize that the running back is looking to bounce to the outside, after which Ojulari is able to disengage from his block and make an athletic diving tackle to limit Auburn to a minimal gain. Then, later in the third quarter, Ojulari is able to showcase his destructive abilities as a pass rusher. This time lined up on the right side of the defensive line and working out of a 3-point stance, Ojulari uses his power and elite hand placement to blow right through the left tackle. It takes Ojulari only 4 seconds to plow through the block and reach the quarterback to bring him down for the sack. At this point, you're probably asking yourself, what is a weakness that Azeez Oghilari has? One of these weaknesses is that while Ojulari excels at getting by offensive linemen, he is prone to getting too wide on his pass rushes. This not only allows time for the quarterback to release the ball or escape the pocket before Ojulari is able to reach him, but quicker offensive tackles are able to regain their inside position and re-engage with the edge rusher. Being able to stay narrow and work the inside more effectively will be an important skill for Ojulari to develop if he wants to be successful in the NFL, as offensive tackles are not only more skilled, but are typically quicker and have better footwork at the next level. One other weakness of Ojulari's is that he might need to put on some more weight to be an effective pass rusher at the next level. As just mentioned, NFL offensive linemen will be better able to keep up with Ojulari's speed, so the more weight he puts on, the more variations of rushes will be at his disposal, so he can work the speed game and the power game. By the time his NFL career is done, I think Ojulari will be recognized as the best edge rusher to come out of this year's draft class. The guy is twitchy. I mean, he's just so dominant at the line of scrimmage. He's able to use his speed to get around offensive linemen and his power to just bowl right through them. But as we saw in the gameplay videos, Ojulari is also really effective in the run. He's able to fill gaps and make acrobatic tackles to prevent running backs from getting big gains. I think Ojulari should be drafted in the first round. The guy just has so much potential that can be realized with more experience and a lot of coaching at the NFL level. Make sure to keep a watch out for Ojulari as he looks to dominate NFL offenses in the future. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Alabama cornerback Patrick Surtain, and a special shout out to Luis Ramos for suggesting that we break down this player. Patrick Surtain, a 6'2", 202-pound junior, is in his third season patrolling the secondary for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Coming out of high school at American Heritage High School in Plantation, Florida, Surtain was one of the most highly sought-after prospects in the entire country. According to 24/7 Sports, the 5-star prospect was the best high school cornerback in the nation and a top 10 player overall. Throughout his college career, Patrick Surtain has been a nightmare for opposing offenses. This season, the Alabama cornerback has 29 tackles, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and 8 passes defended through 10 games. While these statistics may not pop off the page, part of the reason Surtain has not accumulated more stats is because the receivers he is covering do not garner many targets thanks to his stellar play. Despite these low numbers, the junior corner is rated as the #1 left side corner in the entire nation by Pro Football Focus. One of Surtain's greatest strengths is his competitiveness at the catch point and positioning with the receiver. Whether it is on jump balls or bullet passes, Surtain is always sure to get his hands in the passing lane and attempt to break up any passes that are thrown his receiver's way. Even if a receiver already has his hands on the ball, Surtain still makes the extra effort by laying a hit or punching at the ball to prevent the receiver from gaining possession and coming down with the catch. Part of the reason he is so effective with this aspect of his game is because of his positioning. Surtain is masterful at using the sideline as an extra defender, regularly pushing receivers to the out-of-bounds lines and minimizing throwing windows, leaving little room for error on the part of the quarterback. Another one of Surtain's strengths is his size, which is ideal for his position. At 6'2", 202 pounds, Surtain is tall enough to effectively cover taller receivers and big enough to stay with tight ends, but not so big where he loses speed and agility to keep up with quicker receivers and running backs. Arguably the projected first-round pick's greatest strength is his patience off the snap. Instead of relying on press coverage and bumping his receivers at the line of scrimmage, Surtain uses his high intelligence and impressive route reading skills to let the receiver telegraph their route. Once he has determined the most likely path for the receiver, Surtain latches on and either disrupts the receiver's plans, forcing them to get out of rhythm, or baits the quarterback into making a poor throw by jumping the route. Let's take a look at some of the plays that should have NFL teams at the top of the draft excited about the possibility of adding Surtain to their secondary. First up is a play from Alabama's game against LSU last season. This LSU team featured last year's number 1 overall pick, quarterback Joe Burrow, and arguably the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL this year, Justin Jefferson. On this play, Surtain is lined up across Jefferson on the outside in a one-on-one situation, and Jefferson is looking to take the All-American corner deep on a streak up the sideline. Surtain does not try to jam Jefferson at the line, but is still able to keep pace with the receiver. When Burrow delivers a beautiful ball, Surtain is able to break up the play using his aforementioned competitiveness at the point of the catch, getting his hand in between the ball and Jefferson. Here's another example of Surtain's elite pass deflection abilities, this time against Michigan in last year's Citrus Bowl. Once again in man coverage on the outside, Surtain is able to adjust his body and use his length to swat the ball away from the receiver at the point of the catch. Notice how Surtain stays in front of the receiver, ensuring that he will be able to get to the ball at the point of the catch before the receiver will. One final play to take a look at came during Alabama's Week 2 matchup against New Mexico State during the 2019 season. This play results in an interception for Surtain. While the coverage is not particularly hard and the throw is not on target, Surtain is still able to showcase his elite athleticism and jumping ability, skying up to pluck the ball out of the air and create a turnover for the Alabama defense. It is difficult to find weaknesses in the Alabama corner's game, but one area where he could improve is defending against the run. Surtain's ability to shed blocks has been inconsistent at best. As a corner, defending against the run is essential as that position is often the last line of defense against runners who are trying to break to the outside and get big gains up the sideline. To add on to this, Surtain's tackling could be stronger. Instead of initiating aggressive contact and driving the ball carrier back into the ground, Surtain often looks to latch on and drag the ball carrier to the ground. While this can be effective, stronger ball carriers will look to initiate the contact with Surtain, which could result in his tackle attempts failing. In Alabama's upcoming game against the University of Florida for the SEC Championship, Surtain will face arguably his toughest test to date, as he will be lining up against some of the best offensive weapons in the nation, in the form of fellow projected early first-round pick Kyle Pitts and projected day 2 wide receiver Kadarius Toney. Pitts and Toney have been two of the most explosive players in the country this year, and with Heisman contender Kyle Trask throwing them the ball, Surtain will have a great opportunity to show NFL scouts why he deserves to be the first defensive back taken off the board in the 2021 NFL Draft. There's no doubt in my mind that Patrick Surtain is the number 1 corner coming out of college this year. The guy has all of the tools to be an absolute stud in the NFL. Whether it's his size, his speed, his aggressiveness, his ball hawking abilities, you name it, Surtain is going to be able to step in on day 1 and make an immediate impact for whatever team he joins. Look for Patrick Surtain to be drafted somewhere in the top half of the first round, and he is my pick to be next year's NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Last but not least, we're going to be taking a closer look at UNC linebacker Chaz Surratt. Chaz Surratt, a 6'2", 245-pound senior, is one of the most intriguing players in the 2021 NFL Draft class. The former 3-star prospect out of East Lincoln High School in Denver, North Carolina, began his playing career for the University of North Carolina Tar Heels as a quarterback. However, after his sophomore season, Surratt switched over to the defensive side of the ball to the linebacker position. Over the last 2 years, this switch has proven to be effective, as Surratt has been one of the best linebackers in the country. As a junior in his first season playing linebacker, Surratt was selected to the All-ACC first team and was the runner-up for ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Coming into his senior season, Surratt had all the hype of one of the nation's most talented defensive players, being listed as a preseason All-American, as well as finding his name on every major defensive award watch list. Surratt has absolutely delivered on these expectations. After finishing second in the ACC in tackles last year, Surratt has compiled 91 tackles, 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 passes defended in 11 games this year. One of Chaz Surratt's greatest strengths are his physical attributes. Surratt's size, build, and mobility make him one of the most athletic and explosive college linebackers in the nation. This mobility makes Surratt an incredibly effective blitzer, as he is able to close distance and shoot through the gaps in the offensive line quickly. Surratt's quickness has also helped him develop into a positive defender in passing situations. The North Carolina senior is able to keep up with receivers, tight ends, and running backs out of the backfield in man-to-man coverage. And his above-average footwork and capability to speedily change direction makes him effective when playing zone. Surratt is also able to anticipate throwing lanes, a skill that is likely boosted by his experience playing the quarterback position. Lastly, Surratt has proven to be an incredible leader for the Tar Heels on the field, evident through the fact that he is one of the Tar Heels' captains. Surratt appears to be a natural leader, which is surely helped by the fact that he has experience at both the quarterback and linebacker positions, which are considered to be the captains of their respective sides of the ball. His energetic and fearless style of play is a great motivator for the other 10 players on the defense, and a sign that Surratt will be a positive addition to the locker room of any NFL organization that drafts him. Let's take a look at some of the plays that have caused Surratt to shoot up draft boards since the beginning of his junior season. The first play comes on a 3rd and 4 late in the second quarter during North Carolina's game against Syracuse this year. Surratt, who is lined up as the middle linebacker, initially drops back into a zone as Syracuse runs a pass play. Once the quarterback rolls out to the right, Surratt quickly realizes there is no one out there to prevent him from picking up the first down with his legs. The North Carolina senior is able to use his elite speed to take a good angle and close the distance between himself and the quarterback, forcing him to run out of bounds and take a loss, ultimately holding the Orange to a field goal before halftime. In the same game, on a 3rd and 7 early in the third quarter, Surratt is once again lined up as the middle linebacker and drops back into a zone coverage QB spy type role. When the quarterback attempts to break out of the pocket and run for the first down with just Surratt to beat, the North Carolina senior shows his open field tackling ability, as he is able to rush the quarterback and drop him behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. Despite all of these strengths and his high-quality performance over the last 2 seasons, Surratt is still only in his second year at the linebacker position. Naturally, this inexperience means that the North Carolina senior is still developing and understanding the responsibilities of this position. This will be especially apparent when he gets to the NFL, as offensive schemes become more complex, players are more talented, and plays develop at a much faster and more difficult pace. With this inexperience also comes the fact that Surratt can still improve on his tackling and the angles he takes when pursuing ball carriers. One final part of his game that Surratt should look to improve on his journey to the NFL is his ability to shed blocks. However, the senior linebacker has not been shy when embracing contact and trying new strategies to get around blocks and make more tackles. Overall, Surratt's play over the last 2 seasons has proved he has progressed immensely in these aspects of his game, yet there is still more work to be done as he approaches the next level. Surratt is one of the highest potential prospects entering the 2021 draft. Because he has only spent 2 years at the linebacker position, there is no telling how much more Surratt can add to his game, especially with the help of NFL coaching. With his consistently excellent play, Surratt has vaulted himself into the top 50 of draft prospects, with some draft experts predicting he will be selected in the back end of the first round. I expect Surratt to be an early second-round pick, but with the combine before the draft, a place that physically gifted Surratt should excel, it is possible that he solidifies himself as a first-round prospect. Normally when players switch positions, whether it's within college or from college to the NFL, it's on the same side of the ball. This makes Surratt's switch from quarterback to linebacker that much more interesting, and it's so impressive that he's been so good at the linebacker position with just 2 years of experience. Surratt has so much potential and so much work that needs to be done, but if he gets the right coaching and the right experience, I think Surratt can be an incredibly dynamic player at the next level. I'm very excited to see how he does at the combine. He's such an athletic and mobile player that he should excel in these drills and show NFL scouts why he deserves to be taken a chance on. Look for Surratt to be drafted somewhere in the middle rounds, but he can definitely boost up his stock and move into the second or even the first round with an impressive performance in the combine. Thank you for watching this episode of Hashing Out the Draft. If there was a player not mentioned in today's video that you would like to see broken down, make sure to comment their name below. Feel free to check out our website, InsideTheHashes.com, and don't forget to tune in next week so we can continue hashing out the draft.